tree is best measured when it's cut down. So with that being said, I want to ask you, how do you want to be remembered? Welcome to my latest video. If you're new here, I want to encourage you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, give me a like, help me out, help my channel grow. Just don't be lurking. Just don't lurk. So I check my analytics and see that there's people that watch my videos that aren't subscribers, so you might as well just subscribe while you're here. So with that out the way, I do want to talk about something that's very near and dear to me, and that's a legacy. Legacy is something that I think we should all be concerned with. Too many of us go around and live our lives recklessly or however we feel without any consideration for our inner circle or those outside of our circle. Very rarely is it ever our decisions only impact ourselves. Our decisions impact everyone around us. We're all connected in this world. And so what somebody does in the desert across the world will indirectly affect me or you. What I decide here today will affect someone in the middle of the ocean somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, I don't want to say bizarre, but it's something to really think about, though. It's like what we do does impact someone across the world that we don't even know, right? So we also feel the effects of legacies from people thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, even yesterday. For example, the legacy of slavery in America and the unrepented sin and the bridges mended, like we still feel those effects today. So it's not just what happens in the moment, and that's the problem with a lot of us is we live in the moment, we think about what's going on in the moment, how we feel, and we don't take into consideration how this impacts someone else. We have parents who have affairs and they get pregnant or whatever. It's like your decision, your moment of indiscretion has an effect on everyone else, all right? And it's not always bad either. It's some good decisions that are made. But regardless, I just want us to be able to take into consideration and really focus on the legacies that we are setting ourselves up to leave behind. For me, like I remember, and I'm going to upload the video. I'm going to attach it to the end of this. But when my Uncle Ray passed, I struggled for a long time to find the words to give at his eulogy, because he was a very remarkable man. He impacted me a lot, and not only me, but those his family and friends and stuff. But and if you followed me on social media for a while or know me personally, you have heard me talk about him before plenty of times. I even wrote a couple of blogs and stuff. But anyway, but in his eulogy, I compared us to being trees, right? There's a quote, I want to say Abraham Lincoln or something that said it, but there's a quote that says, a tree is best measured when it's cut down. And it's true. Like, we can look up at a tree and see how tall and glorious it is, but once you cut it down, that's when you really get into just how great this tree was. And when you also think about the trees, you also think about how the uses of the tree, of the wood, how we break down the wood to make houses, how we break down the wood to make paper, pencils, you name it. Like, it has so many uses, and that's how we are when we live our lives, and that's how it is when we die. When we die, people will examine our lives, we will be magnified and all this other stuff, and then people will start to dissect us and take pieces away from us that impacted them while we were alive, and they will pass that on while we're gone. And so that's something to remember. It's like, no matter what we do, no matter how you live your life, you want to make sure that you're living your life in such a way that it is a blessing and it's an encouragement, and that is just life-giving and like a breath of fresh air to those who are around you. And to go even further, this is how we are supposed to be as believers. Like, as we go on and live our lives and we impact people, we are supposed to leave this legacy of love, legacy of peace, and so that when people think about Christians, when people think about Christ, they see this. But right now, that legacy that we're leaving is kind of tainted. It's so much intertwined within that, and we need to work hard to change that, super hard to change that. And I just wanted to just kind of bring that into focus because, you know, we want to be. I desire for us to be a tree of life. All right, I want us to be trees that when people come to take materials from us, when they come to take things from us, that, you know, when they examine our wood, they are encouraged, they are edified, they feel like they can do so much more than what they have done. We don't want to be a tree that's rotten, you know, that has rotten wood. You know, we want us to be a healthy tree that would produce great things, produce great fruit, and produce great wood, so they can use it and build a brighter future. And that's what it takes. There's a proverb, I think it's Proverbs 13:22. It says, a wise man or a good person leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Now, a lot of us look at that and they think about, oh, money, possessions, and that's right. You want to leave stuff behind for your family, for your children, and for their children. You want to leave that. That's one of my goals. That's one of my dreams, is to leave something behind that my children can use. But not only so much so in the sense of material things, we want to leave behind things, leave behind a legacy of great character. All right, and that's something that's more important than leaving behind money and stuff, because that stuff will come, but character, and that people can look up to, and that we are just living in such a blameless way that people can't say anything negative about us, or if they do, they're lying. But we always want to keep that in mind. We want to leave a legacy of hope, of love, and of peace. And so I ask you, though, as I start to end this, and I'm going to show the eulogy that I gave of my uncle. The audio is really bad. It was back in 2013, and technology has made strides since then. But the video is very airy, and I say a lot because, like, I hate public speaking, but I've gotten better with not saying and all the time. I'm being more mindful of what I say. But I just want to let you know that. But for those of you, I'm just going to say that I'm standing in front of his casket. You can kind of see him behind me. You really can't see him, but you can see just him laying there. But I'm standing in front of it. But I just want to put that out there too, because some people are like, I don't want to see that. But it's just me standing in front of him and giving a eulogy, and I'm discussing in greater detail about being a tree of life, about a tree being best measured when it's cut down. And I hope it really blesses you guys. Like, I really felt like I should upload it. I've been thinking about it for a while. I'm going to do it now at the end of this video. I'd love to hear what you think, and how it impacted you, and how you want to leave a legacy behind, how you want to live your life that just blesses people. And that's the goal, especially for us as Christians, to leave a life of hope, lead a life of hope and of love. All right, guys, I'm starting to ramble now, so check it out, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. I want to encourage you guys to be more mindful and conscious of the legacy we're leaving behind. I know some of us want to talk about generational curses and things like that. All I'm going to say is we want to break the cycles that have been going on in our families' lives that are negative, and start to build more towards the positive ones. And I pray that we will be able to accomplish that in Jesus' name. Love you guys, and I'll catch you next video. A tree is best measured when it is cut down. To some, the tree may appear to be larger than what they originally thought. To others, it may become rather small after further scrutiny. The greatness of the tree is not based upon the perception of who is examining the tree. If you look hard enough, anyone can find defects. Instead, the greatness of the tree is measured by what it leaves behind. When you cut down a tree, you can use it for paper, houses, firewood, furniture, and things like that. That's the legacy the tree leaves behind. Uncle Ray was a lot of things. A brilliant thinker, philosopher, and he was funny. But he was also very stubborn and cantankerous. He was a certified rage inducer. He would say something that would just irritate him so bad. One moment he could say something so profound,
You sit there and he'll make you look at something so different. And you, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or, okay, I see that. You know, when I was a kid, you know, we would sit outside and look at the stars. It was very fascinating to me because that's why I love the stars today. And then like 5 minutes later, he'll tick you off and you just want to take him and say, let's go outside and fight, man. You just really irritate you know. But if you still love the man, you know, he would challenge you, he would frustrate you, but he will make you better. And he always wants you to be better in here, to think and examine. And so when I was a kid, you know, we would sit down, you know, when he lived in Bloomington with Ani Lane, or when he lived with my mother, you know, we would just talk. You know, like I said, about life, faith, and truth. And he always encouraged me, he said, you know, think critically. You know, examine things. Be open-minded to different ideas and perspectives, because not everybody thinks the same as you. And you always say, strengthen your rigor. You know, you always talk about my rigor. As I got older, I began to walk my own path that was different from what he had taught me. And from that point forward, you know, once I had great rigor, now it became questionable because my path went from what he was teaching me. But although we had different views, I never lost what he had taught me. As I engaged in my own personal studies, I filtered through what I knew would be good points in our next discussions. We would often joke about how he looks like Isaac Hayes, and, you know, Chuck Turner and all that. And so I would look and I say, yeah, I got something for Chuck Turner this time when I talk to him. Even when he was sick, he found the strength to still talk to me, still have these discussions. And we would just talk, and no matter how intense they had gotten, and the passion that was evident in our voices, and we would often ultimately come to different conclusions, we still agreed to disagree. It wasn't out of hate. It was an intellectual. It was a respect, because, you know, as Ramon knows, he would sit there and he would challenge us, and as we stood our ground and what we believed and what we thought, he respected that. And for years I tried to make myself a worthy adversary. You know, when we talked in these debates, you couldn't come with anything silly or he would make you feel like this tall. You know? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. And so when we were in the hospital, when he was in the hospital, and he said, you know, after we were talking, and he just looked at me and he said, you had a beautiful mind. I was like a win. I was like, I won the Super Bowl or something, because this guy's telling me he likes the way I think. But then I'll be John Brown. 10 seconds later, he's sitting there cussing me out because I just said something he didn't agree with. You know, he's like, uno más y esto, so I'm like, okay, so I was on this high right here, and now I'm down here. All right, and walk out the room with my head down and thinking about what I said. So the last time I talked to him, you know, I kissed him on his forehead, and I said, you know, I'll be back. Now, he wore me out. Those talks will just wear you out. And so I'll see you later, Unc. I love you. I'll be back. But I never got that chance. Because the next day, you know, I didn't go. And I said, I'll go before I go out of town for work. And I didn't get to do that. And then he went into his coma. And I was heartbroken, because the mind he had was so brilliant, and to know that we can't sit there and talk like that anymore, it just tore me up. But throughout my life, I would use those skills to critically think and to examine, but to always be willing to listen to other people's perspectives, what they have, what they bring to the table. And this is what I measure this tree by, Uncle Ray. So as we sit back and reflect on his life, let us also think about our own lives. Let's think about the legacy that we'll leave to someone sitting next to you, or a kid across the street that we may not know that's watching us. Because at some point, death comes to us all and our own tree is cut down. So how will we be remembered? How will you be measured? Let it be far from us that after this day, when people look back at our life, when it's our turn, that they can remember us by being angry, hateful, bitter, having attitudes all the time, eating up everybody's food, not putting it in your hand. Always wanting to ride somewhere, don't have gas money. You know, let us not be remembered because of that. You know, oh, that's not worse to do. I don't want to deal with him. Or that girl, she never got money, but she always wanted to go somewhere. Let's not be remembered by that. Let us always be remembered by loving somebody, by building. Let our wood that we produce after we're cut down be used to build and support. That's what really matters in life. And that's what he taught me. Thank you.
Amen.